Hey guys, Tom here again from synthhacker.com. Welcome back to another tutorial for Massive. Just got quite a short video for you today. Someone asked me to make the lead sound from Prydz's track Generate, which is a really nice track. It was actually brought out recently, but it's got this kind of like really old school progressive house vibe to it. It's really cool that Prydz is kind of still, sticking to his roots and stuff. I think that's really cool. And hopefully, that it kind of brings back a resurgence of this kind of like old school progressive house, because that was some of like the first like dance music and electronic music that I actually got into, like Prydz and like early Deadmau5 and stuff like that. But anyway, I digress. This is quite a simple sound, but I thought I'd just make a video on it anyway. Like I said, it will be quite short. I'll demonstrate the sound and then we'll get into making it from scratch. So, like I said, really simple sound, but really effective. Sometimes, I think people kind of overcomplicate making sounds like this. Sometimes the simplest sounds are the most effective, and it's kind of annoying sometimes, especially for someone like me as a sound designer. When I hear like the biggest tracks have got these like super simple sounds in them, but it's just kind of the way it is. These simple sounds are really recognizable, and a lot of the times, that's all kind of a track needs. So yeah, like I said, we're going to be making it from scratch. I'll just go ahead and click new sound here. As always, guys, these videos are supported by my website over at synthhacker.com. Definitely go ahead and check that out if you haven't done so already, to check out my presets for Massive. If you do decide to purchase that, I really do appreciate it, so thanks in advance. It helps support me and the channel, and also you get your hands on some nice presets. So yeah, thanks in advance if you decide to go check that out. But without further ado, let's begin making this Prydz style lead. So starting off in the voicing tab, we're going to have max voices set to 64 and unison set to 7. The max voices won't matter too much because typically there's not going to be too many voices going on in this sound, because it's usually just one note at a time. Although if you were playing like a fast like ARP or something, that's when you kind of hear this come into effect a little bit more. If your CPU can't handle this, just bring the voices down a little bit. It won't negatively impact the sound too much, although I would probably recommend just bouncing it as audio. But yeah, we're going to make sure that the unison is set to 7, and then what we're going to do, we're going to spread these voices of unison. But what we're actually going to use to do this, instead of what we typically do and just moving the slider to the right, we're actually going to make it a little bit more interesting and create some movement by using an envelope to modulate this, and we're actually going to use the amplitude envelope for this. Now, what I noticed about the lead in the track was that it kind of had this like slow attack on it, or slow for a lead sound, I should say, which I really liked. It wasn't this super harsh like piercing attack lead. It was just this kind of like soft sound, which I really like, and it's really kind of suited to like progressive house. And then so I've just boosted the attack here on envelope 4, and then I'm going to bring down the level a bit, give it a little bit of release, not too much, and then I'm going to drag and drop this onto the unison amount, just to kind of detune the voices a little bit. Then what I'm going to do is just slightly spread these voices of unison across the stereo field as well. Next, we're going to go into the oscillator section. We're just going to be using oscillator 1 and 2, which are both just going to be saw waves. I'm going to pitch oscillator 2 an octave above oscillator 1, but just bring the amplitude down a little bit. I don't want the high end to be too harsh. And then this is going to be routed through both filter 1 and 2, and I'll explain why in just a second. We're going to keep these in parallel, so make sure the slider's all the way at the bottom. And we're just going to use a simple low pass 2-pole filter here. Bring the cutoff up to halfway, bring the resonance down, and then we're going to put our filter on the cutoff as well. So now we have this sound. I just brought the attack back a little bit just so it's not too slow at the beginning. Bring the sustain up a bit as well. So that's the sound so far. Next, what we're going to do is, although the mix amount is all the way up here, what we're actually going to do is make the sound a little bit more interesting by adding a second filter. We're going to add a double notch filter, which adds some quite interesting notch kind of like peaks, not peaks, sorry, the opposite of peaks, so like dips in the frequency spectrum, and we can select where this is given where we put this cutoff parameter, and I think I put it quite high up with quite a high resonance, and just turn this up a little bit. So because the filter's in parallel, we've got half the signal going through filter 1 and half the signal going through filter 2. And then what I'm going to do is use this envelope that we set up earlier to kind of modulate the amount that we're actually going to hear filter 2. And I'll show you the effect that this has. It just kind of adds this weird like resonance point in the frequency spectrum, and you can kind of fine tune this how you want with the cutoff parameter, and you know, it's kind of up to you whether you implement this or not. I think it sounds pretty cool. It just adds like this kind of like sparkly sound to it, which is pretty cool. Next, we're going to go into the effects section, and we're going to just slap a reverb on this. We're going to have the size just over halfway, bring the dry wet down a bit, and then what we're going to do is actually increase the density and color to full, so we've got a really kind of bright and dense reverb. So what I was just changing there was the amplitude envelope. I was just tweaking it a little bit. You might want to just tweak this depending on kind of how you want the amplitude of the sound to actually play out. I quite like quite a sharp decay. I think that sounds pretty cool. And then to kind of polish the sound off a little bit, we're just going to add a phaser. Either I found I couldn't actually decide between what sounded best between having a phaser and a chorus. I wish there was more effect slots, but you can try either one of these. I really quite like the phaser. I noticed I actually listened through like most of Eric Prydz's album and noticed that he uses like the phaser a lot on a lot of different leads. So if you really after kind of like that Eric Prydz type sound, definitely stick a phaser on the lead. Some interesting stereo effects when you bang that on as well. And then finally, just in the EQ section, I just boosted the high shelf a little bit just to bring out some of the kind of like sparkle and high end of the lead. That'll just like really help it kind of like cut through the mix. And yeah, that's pretty much the whole sound. Like I said, pretty simple. You know, if you kind of more intermediate or advanced with your sound design, it might not have been too helpful, but hopefully you learnt a thing or two from this, especially if you're just starting out and you kind of into these type of sounds. And yeah, that pretty much covers it. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. If you want to stay up to date with new uploads that I'm uploading all the time, stay up to date by subscribing. Any questions, feel free to leave them down below. And again, if you haven't done so already, go ahead and check out my website over at synthhacker.com. And check out my presets for Massive. I really do appreciate that. Thanks in advance. It really helps support me and the channel, like I said. And you'll get your hands on some nice presets for Massive as well. So that's all from me, guys. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.